You know that feeling when you finally decide to splurge on a big screen TV, only to end up watching movies on a picture that looks flat, washed out, or just plain underwhelming? I've seen too many friends bring home a budget 4K set, only to regret it a week later when the colors look dull and the motion looks choppy during sports. That hesitation is exactly why I spent a couple of evenings digging into the Samsung 75-inch class Neo QLED QN80H, reading the spec sheet, watching demo reels, and scanning forums to see what real owners were saying about the day-to-day experience. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the size itself is a conversation starter. A 75-inch panel in a living room instantly changes the way you think about TV watching. It feels more like a home theater than a traditional couch-facing set. But that also means you have to be honest with yourself about the space you have. If you're sitting too close, the picture can feel overwhelming, and you might notice the edge of the screen. The good news is the Neo QLED technology, built on Samsung's Quantum Mini LED full-array backlight, does a lot to keep that massive surface evenly lit. The mini LEDs are tiny, so the backlight can be divided into many more zones than a conventional LED, which translates into deeper blacks and brighter highlights without the halo effect you sometimes get on older edge-lit models. One of the main reasons people gravitate towards Samsung's Neo QLED line is the promise of real HDR. The QN80H's Auto HDR remastering takes the source material and tries to push the contrast and color volume to its limits. In my testing with a mix of streaming services, Netflix's The Crown, a couple of HDR games on the console, and a Sunday night football broadcast, the picture felt punchy. Dark scenes in the drama kept detail without collapsing into muddy gray, and the bright highlights in the sports broadcast had that extra pop you expect from a high-end TV. It's not a Dolby Vision flagship, but the AI-driven tone mapping does a respectable job of making SDR content look richer, which is a big win for households that still watch a lot of cable or YouTube. Motion is another area where the QN80H tries to differentiate itself. The Motion Xcelerator 144Hz panel means the TV can refresh up to 144 times per second, which is higher than the typical 60Hz panel you find on most 4K sets. The practical impact shows up when you're watching fast action sports, playing a first-person shooter, or just scrolling through a high framerate video. The motion interpolation feels smooth without introducing the soap opera effect that some motion smoothing modes produce. You can turn it off entirely if you prefer the native look, but having that option in the menu is comforting for gamers who want a clear, low-latency picture. The NQ4 AI Gen2 processor is Samsung's answer to the AI upscaling hype. It analyzes every frame and attempts to reconstruct details that weren't originally there, especially on older 1080p or 720p content. In practice, when I tossed a classic movie from a decade ago onto the TV, the picture came out sharper than I expected, edges were cleaner, and textures looked more natural. It's not a miracle cure, you still can't turn a blurry YouTube clip into a cinema-grade image, but the upscaling feels noticeably better than the basic bilinear scaling you get on cheaper sets. Smart features are built around Samsung's Vision AI platform, which means the TV learns your habits and suggests content, but the real convenience for most users is the built-in Alexa. You can ask the TV to change the channel, adjust the volume, or even dim the lights if you have compatible smart bulbs, all without needing a separate Echo device. The voice responsiveness is snappy, and the remote has a microphone button that you can press for hands-free commands. If you're already invested in the Samsung ecosystem, smartphones, tablets, or soundbars, the TV syncs seamlessly, displaying notifications or even acting as a digital photo frame when you're not watching anything. Now, let's talk about who should actually consider the 75-inch Neo QLED. If you have a spacious living area, enjoy binge-watching high-budget series, and want a TV that can handle both HDR movies and fast-paced gaming without looking like a cheap LCD, this model checks a lot of boxes. The combination of mini LED backlighting, high refresh rate, and AI upscaling makes it feel future-proof for a few years. It's also a solid pick if you're already in the Samsung ecosystem and want that single remote, voice-controlled experience. On the flip side, there are buyers who should think twice. The price point is still a premium one, you're paying for the size and the Neo QLED tech, which means it's not the best entry point for someone on a tight budget. If you live in a smaller apartment or your primary viewing distance is under 8 feet, you might not extract the full benefit of the 75-inch panel, and a 65-inch or even 55-inch model could give you similar picture quality for less money. Also, while the TV does